Jake Harding, a Wall Street titan with a fortune that screamed excess, was as famous for his arrogance as his killer charm. At a penthouse party overlooking Central Park, his buddy Mike, a known instigator, sidled up with a smirk. Mike lived to needle Jake, knew his ego was as inflated as his bank account. "Heard you never backed down from a challenge, Harding," Mike began, a playful jab in his tone. Jake, ever the showman, arched an eyebrow, a hint of disdain in his eyes. Challenges were his lifeblood, especially when power and cash were involved. "Name it. If it's worth my time," Jake drawled, a cocky grin spreading across his face. Mike's smile widened. The bet he had in mind was beyond audacious. "Prove you can marry beneath you. Not some model, not a Park Avenue princess. I'm talking opposite of your type. Someone substantial." 3 months. That's all it took. Jake scoffed. "And what's in it for me?" Mike savored the moment. $500,000, and bragging rights that even marriage bends to your will. 3 months, divorce papers, back to your life. Jake hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Absurd. Yet, the cash, the sheer audacity of it, the chance to prove his dominance, it was intoxicating. Power play, pure and simple. He extended his hand, sealing the insane pact. Mike, already prepared, steered a woman toward him. "Jake, meet Sarah Jenkins." Sarah was real. Curvy, down to earth, nothing like the sculpted socialites Jake usually dated. Not dazzling, not polished, but she carried herself with a quiet strength, a reputation for independence. Intriguing. Jake, used to controlling every room he walked into, was suddenly curious about someone who wouldn't be easily swayed. He suggested dinner at Per Se. Status, possessions, his usual arsenal. He fully expected Sarah to crumble under his influence. That night at Per Se, Jake, radiating confidence, waited. Sarah arrived, dressed simply, utterly unfazed by the opulent setting. No wide-eyed wonder, just a steady gaze that unsettled him. They sat, polite greetings exchanged, but Sarah cut through the pretense. "I know about the bet, Jake, the 3 months, the payoff." A faint smile, confident, knowing. "Before you start your sales pitch, I have my own terms." Jake, thrown off balance, tried to mask his surprise. No woman had ever confronted him like this. "Terms?" he echoed, a touch of amusement in his voice. Sarah's gaze locked with his. "If I agree, you respect my space. No treating me like a trophy. I'm not here to please you. This is a business arrangement. 3 months, then done. I live my life, you live yours. No interference." Jake listened, intrigued. This was a twist. "And if I agree to these terms?" he asked, hiding a smile. "Then we have a deal." Sarah's voice was firm. "But know this. Money, status, none of it impresses me. Try to control me and it's over. Instantly." Jake nodded, a thrill of challenge coursing through him. This woman was different, immune to his usual tactics. The game just got interesting. They shook hands, sealing the deal. Jake left Per Se with a strange mix of challenge and intrigue. He'd taken the bet to prove he could conquer any woman, but Sarah was a different beast altogether. Round one to her. He didn't know it, but this was the beginning of a game that would shatter his world. A week later, a quiet wedding. No paparazzi, no flashbulbs, just a small ceremony Sarah insisted on. Jake, used to lavish affairs, conceded. 3 months, a blink of an eye. Easy money. He brought Sarah to his penthouse, a glass and steel monument to his success, overlooking the city he ruled. He was used to gasps of awe. Sarah walked in, unimpressed. Her eyes scanned the space not with admiration, but indifference. Jake, smile plastered on, walked her through the sprawling rooms, waiting for a reaction. Nothing. She remained unfazed, as if it were just another apartment. They stopped in the living room, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the glittering cityscape. Sarah turned to him, gaze steady. 3 months, Jake, she stated, no room for argument. Jake, momentarily speechless at her unwavering resolve, recovered quickly. He'd faced tougher negotiations. "Don't worry, Sarah, you'll change your mind," he said, a playful smirk. Sarah just raised an eyebrow, her gaze unwavering. "I'm not like your usual crowd, Jake. Gifts, luxury won't work here." Her calm demeanor was unnerving. That night, Jake deployed Tactic 1, an extravagant dinner. Personal chef, Dom Perignon, the works. Silverware gleamed, candles flickered, the city lights twinkled outside. He expected Sarah to be swept away. A polite nod of approval was all he got. Dinner conversation revolved around his empire, his travels, his wealth. He painted a picture of a life few could imagine, expecting her to crave a piece of it. Discreet smiles, brief comments, nothing more. Finally, Sarah broke the silence. Jake, I'm not here for your money or your status. I accepted this for my own reasons. Nothing you show me will impress me. Her coldness was a puzzle he couldn't crack. He had thought initial resistance was just a game. He was Jake Harding. Women always fell. Eventually. But as he watched her walk to her room that night, without a backward glance, a strange unease crept into his gut. For the first time, he questioned his control. This bet, this game, was shifting. Sarah wasn't playing by his rules. And for the first time, Jake wondered if money could solve this. The next days were a masterclass in frustration for Jake. Sarah was a phantom in his penthouse, immune to the gilded cage he'd built. Gifts, opera tickets, private jet offers, all met with polite refusals or outright indifference. Sarah lived as if his fortune was invisible, and it chipped away at Jake's carefully constructed ego. One evening, after a particularly grueling day battling for market share, Jake found her in the garden, amidst the meticulously manicured roses. She looked serene, lost in thought. He approached, determined to breach her walls. "Sarah, you're home now. Anything you want, just ask," he said, attempting charm, appealing to the allure of his world. Sarah looked up, her gaze piercing, seeing straight through his carefully crafted persona. She sighed, a weary sound. "You don't get it, Jake. None of this matters to me. I didn't come here for your money." Jake fell silent. Something deeper was at play. "Then why?" he pressed, frustration edging into his voice. "Why this insane bet? You could have said no, lived your life." Sarah hesitated, a flicker of pain crossing her face. She looked away, as if deciding how much to reveal. "Let's just say, reasons beyond your imagination. I came here to confront something from my past." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. "Your past?" Jake probed, sensing an opening. Sarah gazed at the horizon, seeking escape. "Someone's money, someone's power, changed my life a long time ago. Not for the better." A bitter edge crept into her voice. "Wealth? It doesn't equal happiness, Jake. Sometimes it just destroys." Jake absorbed her words, a flicker of understanding igniting within him. Her indifference, her resistance, it stemmed from something deeper than mere disdain for his lifestyle. "Your past," he repeated, softer now. Sarah sighed, a sigh heavy with years of unspoken pain. "Let's just say, someone like you, Jake, someone with your kind of empire, took something from my family a long time ago." She stopped, her voice thick with emotion. "Destroyed it, actually." She turned back to him, her eyes filled with a cold, hard truth. "And I never forgot." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. A cold dread washed over him. He vaguely remembered deals, acquisition, ruthless business maneuvers, faceless companies, numbers on a spreadsheet. He'd never considered the human cost. Sarah stood abruptly, cutting off the conversation. "I've said too much. Good night, Jake." She walked away, leaving him alone in the twilight garden, the scent of roses suddenly cloying, suffocating. Jake stood there, reeling. This wasn't a bet anymore. It was something else entirely. He'd wanted control, dominance. He was losing it, and something else was happening. He was starting to see Sarah not as a challenge, but as a person, a woman carrying a weight he couldn't even fathom. He went inside, the penthouse suddenly feeling vast and empty. What had started as a game was unraveling. He was facing something his wealth couldn't fix, and a disquieting thought began to form. Maybe he wasn't in control of anything, least of all himself. Days blurred into a tense stalemate. Jake's attempts to impress Sarah crumbled. Her indifference was a fortress. He'd tried gifts, dinners, luxury, all deflected. He'd always controlled people, situations. Sarah was immune, unbearable. He changed tactics. If she wanted distance, he'd tighten the leash. Control. The next morning, Sarah, dressed for work, headed for the door. Jake waited in the living room, his face set, resolute. "Where do you think you're going?" His tone brooked no argument. Sarah stopped, surprised, purse slung over her shoulder. "To work, Jake. My job, remember?" Jake stepped forward, blocking her path. "Not anymore. You're my wife now. My wife doesn't work in some flower shop." He searched for the right condescending word. Sarah crossed her arms, her gaze hardening. "I'm not a possession, Jake. We had an agreement. I keep my life." Jake felt his temper flare. Her calm defiance ignited his rage. He wanted her to bend, to break like all the others. Sarah remained unyielding. "You're in my penthouse, Sarah," he said, voice low, dangerous. "My rules now. You'll act like a wife." Sarah's eyebrow arched, defiant. "Your rules? The deal was 3 months, Jake. No control. I'm not your prisoner." "You don't understand my world, Sarah. As long as we're married, you obey me." He stepped closer, intimidation in his eyes. Sarah met his gaze, unflinching. Tension crackled between them, a silent battle for dominance. She took a breath, crossed her arms tighter, and spoke, her voice cool, steady. "I've dealt with men like you before, Jake. Control freaks doesn't intimidate me." Jake clenched his jaw, anger surging. No one challenged him like this. No one dared to assert control in his presence. Sarah, with her quiet strength, was dismantling him, piece by piece. "Fine," he spat, trying to regain composure. "Work. Fine. But don't think this changes anything." Sarah walked past him, head held high, a silent victory. Jake watched her go, a mix of frustration and something else. Admiration? He'd never encountered a woman like her, immune to his power. That night, she returned, same indifferent demeanor. Sarah moved through his penthouse like a ghost, while Jake felt increasingly lost. The bet, the power play, it was backfiring. He was losing control, not of Sarah, but of himself. A restlessness grew, a sense that this wasn't just about winning a bet. He was facing something bigger, deeper. Days became a series of silent confrontations. Jake couldn't break Sarah. It disarmed him. She was a fortress, impervious to his wealth, his power. But beneath that cold exterior, Jake sensed a deeper pain. One night, after another tense exchange, he found her in the garden again, shrouded in shadows. She looked utterly depleted, the weight of the world etched on her face. Driven by a mix of anger and confusion, Jake confronted her. "What is your problem, Sarah?" he demanded, barely containing his rage. "Why are you even here? If you despise all of this, why marry me?" Sarah was silent, staring at the ground. Then she looked up, and Jake saw it. Raw anger, years of buried pain. "You want to know why I'm here, Jake?" Her voice was sharp, bitter. "Revenge. That's why. I'm here to make you feel a fraction of what my family went through, to make you suffer." The words hit him like a physical blow. "Revenge?" he stammered. "What are you talking about?" Sarah stepped closer, her face contorted with pain. "Years ago, my family had a small business. My father poured his life into it, our livelihood. Then, an investor showed up. Promises of growth, opportunity, seemed like our savior." She paused, a ragged breath. "That investor was you, Jake. You took everything. In months, it was gone. My family destroyed. My father, he died, drowning in debt." Jake's world tilted. He vaguely recalled the deal. Just another acquisition, profitable, efficient. He'd never considered the fallout. Sarah's voice was laced with venom. "That's why I'm here. Not for money, fame, luxury, revenge. I wanted you to face someone who wouldn't break, wouldn't yield, so you'd know what it feels like to lose control of something you want." Jake felt a crushing weight in his chest. He, the master of control, was facing the devastating consequences of his actions. "Sarah, I didn't know. I never imagined my decisions could destroy lives like that. To me, it was just..." He trailed off, words failing him. How could he justify it? Sarah shook her head, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "That's the problem, Jake. People like my family were just numbers to you. You never see the faces, the lives you crush." Silence descended, thick, suffocating. Jake felt broken. He'd caused this. He'd destroyed a family. Regret, real, visceral regret, washed over him. He wanted to apologize, but words were useless. Sarah turned away, her back to him. "You wanted to control my life, Jake. Never going to happen. That's my revenge. You'll taste what it's like to lose control." Her words were a sentence. Jake was shattered. He wanted to defend himself, explain, but he was empty. Guilt was his only companion. Sarah walked away, leaving him alone, stripped bare. He didn't know it, but he'd lost something he could never regain, his own humanity. Weeks crawled by. Sarah remained distant, cold. She was a ghost in his penthouse, responding in monosyllables, treating him with an indifference that was a constant, agonizing reminder of his sin. He tried everything. Kindness, apologies, business ethics overhauls, donations to her old community. Nothing pierced her armor. One night, desperate, Jake confronted her in the garden. He couldn't bear the chasm between them. He needed something, anything. He found her in the moonlight, gazing at the stars, lost in her own world. "Sarah," he began, his voice raw, weary. "What do you want me to do? Please, tell me. I'll do anything to earn your forgiveness, to stop being a ghost to you." She remained silent, then sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Nothing, Jake," she whispered, her voice laced with pain. "Nothing can undo what I've lost. The suffering, nothing can erase that." Jake's throat constricted. Her voice held not just resentment, but a deep, bottomless sadness. "Sarah, please, I need to know. What are you hiding?" He chose his words carefully. "What hurts the most?" Sarah looked at him, a long, searching gaze. Then she spoke, her voice barely audible. "Days before my father died." Her voice trembled. "I was pregnant." Jake froze, the world stopping. "Pregnant?" He repeated the word, numb. Sarah nodded, her gaze distant, reliving the pain. "My ex. He left when he found out. Vanished. I was alone, taking care of my dying father, everything collapsing." She paused, tears welling. "Then, my father died. I lost everything. Hope. Gone." Her voice broke. "The stress. Despair. I lost the baby too." Tears streamed down her face. "Father, family, child, all because of you, Jake. Your greed, your ego." Her words were shards of glass. Jake couldn't breathe. He'd never imagined such devastation, such profound loss. He'd reopened wounds he hadn't even known existed. "Sarah, I didn't know. No idea." He choked on the words. "Of course you didn't know," she interrupted, bitterness flooding her voice. "You never cared to know. We were just numbers, contracts, my life, destroyed." Silence descended, heavy, suffocating. Jake was devastated. "I know what I did is unforgivable," he murmured, his voice shaking. "I don't expect forgiveness, Sarah, but what can I do? To ease your pain, even a little? Anything." Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with immeasurable pain. Silence stretched, agonizing. Then she sighed, wiping her tears, looking away. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Jake," she said, her voice raw, honest. "But I see you're trying. Maybe one day I'll find a way to move on. It won't be easy. It won't be quick." Jake nodded, a faint glimmer of hope flickering within him. Redemption was a long, arduous road. "I understand," he whispered. Sarah walked away, disappearing into the penthouse. Jake stood alone, the weight of his actions crushing him. He'd destroyed a life, irreversibly. He could never undo it. And that night, Jake finally understood true loss. The night was sleepless. Sarah's words echoed, guilt a constant ache. Her pain, her coldness, her strength. It all made sense. He thought of her suffering, all because of him. The next morning, Jake woke with a new resolve: redemption. He had to earn it. He called his lawyers, his financial team. He was reversing his predatory acquisitions, starting with Sarah's family's business. He'd find a way to make amends. Weeks later, Sarah noticed changes in Jake. He was quieter, more introspective, less controlling. He spent hours in his office. Something had shifted. One evening in the garden, Jake approached her hesitantly. Sarah watched him, surprised by the vulnerability in his eyes. He took a breath. "Sarah, words aren't enough, but I'm trying, reevaluating things. Your family's company, I'm working on it. Won't erase the past, but it's a start." Sarah narrowed her eyes, assessing his sincerity. Skepticism warred with a flicker of hope. "Change is nothing, Jake," she said, voice controlled. "Not just money. You took more than possessions. Our life, our dreams, our peace." He nodded, the weight of her words heavy. "I know. Not asking for forgiveness, not expecting anything. Just trying to be better, even if I can't fully make up for it." Silence hung between them. Sarah wrestled with her emotions, torn between resentment and a fragile hope. She'd never expected real change from Jake Harding, but here he was. Jake started visiting Sarah's hometown, witnessing the devastation firsthand. He sought out those affected, committed to righting wrongs. Difficult, painful work many wouldn't forgive. But with each step he felt less hollow, finding a purpose beyond wealth. Sarah initially ignored his efforts, but whispers reached her. Stories of Jake's commitment, his genuine remorse. Noah's transformation was real, and despite herself, it stirred something within her. One evening in the library, Sarah broke the silence. "Why, Jake?" she asked, her voice soft, hesitant. You could ignore me, wait for 3 months to be over. He looked at her, and Sarah saw something new in his eyes, something genuine, vulnerable. Because, for the first time, I see my life was meaningless. Control, money, power, empty. You showed me that. He sighed. And somehow I want you to know I can change. Not for ego, but because you made me want to be better. Sarah was silent, Jake respecting the moment, knowing she needed time. He no longer saw the 3 months as a deadline, but a chance to truly begin, to prove his transformation. For Sarah, his words were a mix of relief and uncertainty. Resentment lingered, but she sensed sincerity in his actions. Maybe, just maybe, the man she despised was becoming someone she could respect. The next day, Jake found Sarah in the garden, tending her flowers. He sat beside her, wordless, silence stretched, comfortable. Finally, Sarah spoke, her voice thoughtful. I've been watching you, Jake. What you're doing, I see you're trying, really trying. Guilt, it's heavy, she admitted, but I'm starting to believe it's real. Jake felt a surge of relief, gratitude, a long road ahead, but Sarah's words, confirmation. Not expecting forgiveness, Sarah, he replied sincerely, but every step, every attempt brings me closer to something real, beyond anything I ever imagined. Rebuilding what I destroyed, even a fraction, it's what I need to do. She nodded, a faint smile touching her lips, a softness in her eyes, a glimmer of hope. Maybe I'll never forget, she said thoughtfully. But forgiveness isn't for the other person, is it? It's for ourselves. Bitterness traps us, binds us to the past. Seeing you fight for this, it's brought me some peace. Jake was silent, absorbing her words. He couldn't undo the past. But moving forward, building a legacy beyond pride, ambition, that was everything now. Sarah walked away. Jake remained, the garden suddenly lighter. He was on the path, redemption. The penthouse days shifted. Tension eased, replaced by tentative conversations, even laughter. Sarah, once impenetrable, began to open up. Jake learned about her life, her passions, her quiet strength. He was reborn beside her. The love growing was unlike anything he'd known. 3 months neared an end. Jake couldn't let her go. He couldn't imagine life without Sarah. He had to tell her. That night, Jake prepared dinner. Simple, intimate, not his usual extravagance. Soft candlelight. He watched Sarah, captivated. After dinner, he led her to the garden. Silence, starlight. The city lights a distant hum. Sarah, he began, voice hesitant. Our beginning, a bet. I thought I could control everything. You showed me how wrong I was. She looked at him, kindness in her eyes. These months changed everything. You made me see myself, what I'd lost. And now, I can't imagine life without you. He paused, a deep breath. Sarah, I love you. Don't want this to end. Don't want you to leave. Stay. Let's try for real. No lies, no bets, just us, building something true. His voice trembled. He waited, heart pounding. Sarah was silent, gazing at him, then at the ground. Silence stretched, agonizing. Finally, she looked up, her voice soft, emotional. Jake, I love you too. Relief washed over him, pure joy. They were silent, their eyes speaking volumes, free to love, finally. The next morning, a walk in Central Park. Laughter, shared stories, simple joys. Sarah showed him a new world, a world beyond wealth, beyond power. Days became about surprising her, not with gifts, but with sincerity. He joined her at the flower shop, learned about her work, her passions. Community aid projects became their shared focus. Sarah saw Jake transforming, becoming a man she could admire. One afternoon in the park, Jake stopped, took her hand. Sarah, everything I do now, for you, to be someone you respect, because you showed me what matters. She smiled, her eyes shining. I'm already proud, Jake. The man you're becoming, better than the man I met. Wouldn't change a thing. Brought us here. They walked on, Jake feeling a peace he'd never known. Scars remained, but they were marks of transformation, of a love found in the ruins of the past. They began planning a future. Shared dreams, shared goals. Letting go of pride, ambition had become Jake's greatest strength. Sarah inspired him to see beyond, to appreciate simplicity, to find joy in giving. They created a foundation, supporting families, small businesses, More than just amends, a legacy of good. One sunny morning, visiting a community he'd once harmed, seeing new businesses rising, families rebuilding, Jake felt the weight of his past lift. Never imagined how many lives I could affect, he said thoughtfully. Numbers then. Now, stories. Sarah took his hand. And now you're changing those stories, giving chances. That's what matters, Jake. Later, he stopped at a dilapidated school, slated for closure. What if we helped this school? He suggested, a spark in his eyes. Opportunities. I want these kids to have what I denied others. Sarah smiled, touched. Amazing, Jake. You're becoming the man I hoped for. Together, they planned the school renovation, a symbol of hope, of second chances. Months turned into a whirlwind of love, work, growth. Jake, no longer the cold titan, but a man dedicated to making amends, to building a better world. One starlit evening in the garden, Jake pulled her close. Sarah, everything, because of you. You gave me purpose, a fresh start. Without you, she smiled, gently touching his face. And you gave me love I never expected, Jake. Forgiveness, transformation, real. So proud of us. They stood in silence, wrapped in love, knowing this was just the beginning. Their life became a cycle of love, purpose, inspiring others, love and respect overcoming all. A celebration marked the school reopening. More than bricks and mortar, a symbol of hope. Jake spoke, heart bare, sharing his story, his mistakes, his redemption. Applause filled the air, but his focus was Sarah's proud gaze. Walking through the halls filled with children's laughter, Jake felt peace. Our legacy, Sarah, he said, moved. Not just this, but what we inspire. Want to spend my life with you, building a better world. She hugged him, tears of happiness in her eyes. Me too, Jake. Together, we can face anything. Home that night, they knew they were where they were meant to be. Partners, friends, souls redeemed by love. One morning, Sarah felt unwell. Nausea, persistent discomfort. Intuition led to a pregnancy test. Positive. Heart racing, joy mixed with emotion, remembering her past loss. A new beginning, new hope. At her first checkup, the surprise. Twins. That night, Sarah told Jake, Jake, surprise. He looked at her, smiling, curious. Surprise? No hints. She took a breath. Jake, I'm pregnant. Speechless. Shock, then joy, overwhelming. He hugged her, laughing, crying. Serious? He choked out. Baby? Sarah laughed, tears flowing. Babies. Twins. He hugged her tighter, absorbing the miracle. Past pain, guilt, leading to this. He stepped back, holding her hands tenderly. Sarah, his voice full of emotion. Now, family, right way, marry me, real marriage, love, because I love you more than anything. Sarah, tears streaming, nodded, an emotional yes. Not just a new beginning, but a future built on hard-won love, intimate wedding in their garden. Few friends, family, simplicity, genuine love. Sarah in a simple white dress, radiant. Jake's heart raced. This was it. No games, no expectations, just them, united. At the altar, hand in hand, heartfelt vows. Noah gazing into Sarah's eyes. Sarah, you saved me, my soul, my life, true love, husband, father, I promise. Love, respect, kindness, you're everything. Sarah, tears shimmering. Noah, you taught me forgiveness, love's power, partner, life partner, I promise. Family, always dreamed of. Rings exchanged, a sense of completion. Kiss met with cheers, happy tears. Beginning of a new life. Months of joyful anticipation. Twins. Noah cared for Sarah, devoted. Baby room prepared, love in every detail. Excitement grew. Jake, whole. One afternoon, painting the baby room, Jake watched Sarah, joy radiating, hugging her from behind, hands on her belly. Sarah, never thought I could be this happy, he whispered, gratitude overflowing. You, our children, found what I was always searching for. She smiled, hands over his. Me too, Jake. Everything brought us here. Family now. Together, we can face anything. Twins arrived. Joy beyond wealth, beyond success. Pure, deep love, new purpose. Noah held them, tears streaming, looking at Sarah, mother, partner. Redemption, new beginning. Past pain, distant memories overshadowed by love. Babies in arms, Noah and Sarah found home. Not just bricks, but love, resilience, hope.